We were just out, I guess, sightseeing, I guess you'd say. And the kids got tired. They fell asleep in the car, so I decided to just head on home. But I saw a road I hadn't been on before. We like to take back roads. And just went down that road, and there was a guy standing in the road, flagging me down, so I stopped. If I had shot my own children, would I not have done a good job of it? Why would I have taken my kids to the hospital? Wouldn't I have made sure they were dead and then cried crocodile tears? That's insane to think that I would do such a thing and then bring the witnesses in against myself.
Diane Downs was born in Phoenix, Arizona, on August 7, 1955, to parents Wesley Linden and Willardine Fredrickson. She has testified that her father sexually abused her when she was 12 years old. Diane graduated from Moon Valley High School in Phoenix, where she met her husband, Steve Downs. After high school, she enrolled at Pacific Coast Baptist Bible College in Orange, California, but was expelled after 1 year for promiscuous behavior and soon returned to her parents' home in Arizona. On November 13, 1973, Diane married Steve Downs after running away from home. Their first child, Christiane, was born in 1974. Cheryl Lynn followed in 1976, with Stephen Daniel being born in 1979. The couple divorced in 1980 because Steve thought Stephen Daniel, known as Danny, was the result of an extramarital affair by Diane. On May 8, 1982, Diane Downs gave birth to a daughter through surrogacy. She named the child Jennifer before turning her over to her intended parents. Prior to her arrest, Downs was employed by the United States Postal Service, assigned to the mail routes in the city of Cottage Grove, Oregon. Cheryl Lynn, shortly before her death, reportedly told a neighbor of her grandparents that she was afraid of her mother. On May 19, 1983, Downs shot her 3 children and drove them in a blood-spattered car to McKenzie-Willamette Hospital in Springfield, Oregon. Upon arrival, Cheryl, aged 7, was already dead, Danny, aged 3, was paralyzed from the waist down, and Christy, aged 8, had suffered a disabling stroke. Downs herself had been shot in the left forearm. She claimed she was carjacked on a rural road near Springfield by a strange man who shot her and the children.
I just hit my cast. Started the car and left. The car door shut itself. God, this is worse than... Okay. Yeah. I'm sure he didn't intend to shoot. When this man shot my daughter, my first reaction was to snap back to my childhood, to the pain that had happened to me back then, my marriage, my entrapment by society. This man was bigger than me. He was stronger than me. He had more power because he had a gun. And I stood there and I looked at Christy reaching, and the blood that just kept gushing out of her mouth. What do you do? Everybody says you sure were lucky. Well, I don't feel very lucky. I couldn't tie my damn shoes for about 2 months. It is very painful. It is still painful.
However, investigators and hospital workers became suspicious because they decided Downs' manner was too calm for a person who had experienced such a traumatic event. She also made a number of statements that both police and hospital workers considered highly inappropriate. Suspicions heightened when Downs, upon arrival at the hospital to visit her children, phoned Robert Knickerbocker, a married man and former co-worker in Arizona with whom she had been having an affair. The forensic evidence did not match her story. There was no blood spatter on the driver's side of the car, nor was there any gunpowder residue on the driver's door or on the interior door panel. Knickerbocker also reported to police that Downs had stalked him and seemed willing to kill his wife if it meant that she could have him to herself. He stated that he was relieved that she had left for Oregon and that he was able to reconcile with his wife. Diane did not disclose to police that she owned a .22 caliber handgun.
Talked to you, referred to you by name, and also referred to your tattoo.
Right.
As close as you can remember, what did he tell you?
If you say anything about what happened here if they'd come back and kill me.
It wasn't an intentional lie, though. I didn't
But you
just
changed
sit
your
there.
story.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I agree. I mean, you know, you've heard it. It's obvious.
Doesn't that make it seem kind of tough to believe what you're saying? If you change your story 2 months after the shooting?
I'm sorry. I mean, I'm not saying that you have to believe me. I'm not saying that anybody has to believe me. But I know within myself, I can sit here with a clear conscience and know that I did not shoot my kids.
But both Steve and Knickerbocker informed them that she did. Investigators later discovered she bought the handgun in Arizona. While they were unable to find the actual weapon, they found and fired casings in her home with extractor markings from the murder weapon. Most damaging, witnesses saw her car being driven very slowly toward the hospital at an estimated speed of 5 to 7 miles per hour, contradicting her claim that she drove to the hospital at high speed after the shooting.
My whole life, even as a child, all I really thought about, I used to carry dolls around on a pillow, and I wanted to be a mom.
What Diane Downs wanted more than anything else was to have children. She got her wish, but her dream turned into a twisted tragedy when she was sentenced to life for shooting her children because her boyfriend didn't like kids.
Based on this and additional evidence, Downs was arrested on February 28, 1984, 9 months after the shooting, and charged with 1 count of murder and 2 counts each of attempted murder and criminal assault. Prosecutors argued that Downs shot her children to be free of them so she could continue her affair with Knickerbocker, as she claimed that he let it be known that he did not want children in his life. Much of the case against her rested on the testimony of her surviving daughter, Christy, who, once she recovered her ability to speak, described how her mother shot all 3 children while parked at the side of the road and then shot herself in the arm. Downs was convicted on all charges on June 17, 1984, and sentenced to life in prison plus 50 years. She was required to serve 25 years before being considered for parole.
Guilty of murder and attempted murder and sentenced her to life in prison, where she would later have her baby and give it up for adoption.
Psychiatrists diagnosed her with narcissistic, histrionic, and antisocial personality disorders, labeling her as a deviant sociopath. Most of Downs' sentence is to be served consecutively. The judge made it clear that he did not intend for Downs to ever be free again. Downs' 2 surviving children eventually went to live with the lead prosecutor on the case, Fred Hugie. He and his wife Joanne adopted them in 1986. Prior to her arrest, Downs became pregnant with a 4th child and gave birth to a girl, whom she named Amy Elizabeth, a month after her 1984 trial. 10 days before Downs' sentencing, Amy was seized by the state of Oregon and adopted by Chris and Jackie Babcock, who named her Rebecca. As an adult, Rebecca appeared on The Oprah Winfrey Show and ABC's discussing how she feels about her biological mother. She wrote to Downs in her younger years and has stated that she regrets it, regarding her mother as a monster. Downs was initially incarcerated at the Oregon Women's Correctional Center in Salem. She escaped from her cell on July 11, 1987, by scaling an 18-foot razor wire fence. For 10 days Downs managed to evade law enforcement despite a 14-state manhunt before she was recaptured. She received an additional 5-year sentence for the escape. After her recapture, Downs was transferred to the New Jersey Department of Corrections Clinton Correctional Facility for Women after heavy lobbying from Hugie. The Salem prison was located 66 miles from Hugie's home in Springfield. During her 10 days of freedom, Hugie had feared that Downs would attempt to travel there in hopes of contacting Christy and Danny. Despite significant security upgrades at the women's facility after the escape, state officials accepted Hugie's argument that the risk of harm to Christy and Danny in the event of another escape was too great for Downs to remain incarcerated in Oregon. In 1994, after serving 10 years, Downs was transferred to the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. While in prison, she has earned an associate degree in general studies. In 2010, she was located in the Valley State Prison for Women in Chowchilla, California, but transferred out when the facility was converted to an all-male institution in 2013. Author and Rule wrote the book Small Sacrifices, detailing Downs' life and murder trial. The book documents accounts by friends, acquaintances, neighbors, and her surviving daughter Christy, who question the quality of her parenting. A made-for TV movie also titled Small Sacrifices, starring Farrah Fawcett as Downs, aired on ABC in 1989. Downs' sentence meant she could not be considered for parole until 2009. Under Oregon law at the time, as a dangerous offender, Downs would have been eligible for a parole hearing every 2 years until she is released or dies in prison. In her first application for parole in 2008, Downs reaffirmed her innocence. Over the years, she said, "I have told you and the rest of the world that a man shot me and my children. I have never changed my story." Her first parole hearing was on December 9, 2008. Lane County District Attorney Douglas Harkleroad wrote to the parole board, "Downs continues to fail to demonstrate any honest insight into her criminal behavior. Even after her convictions, she continues to fabricate new versions of events under which the crimes occurred." He also wrote that she alternately refers to her assailants as a bushy-haired stranger, 2 men wearing ski masks, or drug dealers and corrupt law enforcement officials. 24. Downs participated in the hearing from the Valley State Prison for Women. She was not permitted a statement, but answered questions from the parole board. After 3 hours of interviews and 30 minutes of deliberation, she was denied parole. Downs faced her second parole hearing on December 10, 2010,
but her dream turned into a twisted tragedy when she was sentenced to life for shooting her children because her boyfriend didn't like kids.
It was denied.
She destroyed them. 3 perfectly innocent young children. Destroyed them.
I'm going to remember that night for the rest of my life, whether I want to or not. I don't think I was very lucky. I think my kids were lucky. If I had been shot the way they were, we all would have died.
Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it and wish to see more, click the subscribe button alongside with the notification bell. You can also like the video and comment to let us know about your thought on this case, as well as if you want us to cover any other one.